it's not good. Right after her, my problem is kind of opposite with her. I have a sick husband. He's sick like 15 years, and everybody comes be nice to him, but I'm kind of getting tired of him. He's become selfish, and I used to feel sorry and empathy for him, but lately I have been feeling tired and angry. I feel like he is selfish and does not think about me and my feelings. I'm out of my patience, and I don't know what to do. And today is a good time I can get better answer, or maybe new energy or something. Yeah, that's all.
네, 이 건강한 남자하고도 헤어지는 사람인데 아픈 남자하고 헤어지면 되지 그게 뭐 어려운 일이야.
So, the previous questioner, her husband passed away, so she's alone. So your husband's still alive, but she's sick, so you can also separate. It's up to you.
Yeah, that's the problem. I can't leave him, but I'm struggling.
왜 떠날 수가 없어? 왜 떠나면 되지?
Because
So-
he's getting really sick. He has a brain tumor, and he's gonna be soon lay down, can't move. So it's kind of hard for me. I feel like I'm become a really bad people.
떠날 수 없는 일은 없습니다. 그냥 떠나면 됩니다.
So there's no cause, there's no reason that's keeping you there. You can just leave.
떠날 수 없는 건 아니에요. 내가 안 떠나는 거예요.
So it's not that you can't leave. You're deciding, you're choosing not to leave.
지금이라도 가버리면 돼요.
Because you can just leave here. You can leave now.
그러니까 못 떠나는 것이 아니라 내가 안 떠나는 거예요.
So it's not that you can't leave. You're choosing not to leave.
당신이 선택하는 거예요.
So you made a choice.
이건 하나님이 명령한 것도 아니에요.
God didn't make you do this.
이거는 전생의 운명도 아니에요. 정해진 운명도 아니에요.
It's not a karma from your previous incarnation.
사주팔자나 궁합도 아니에요.
This is not because of astrology.
그냥 내가 안 떠나는 거예요.
You chose not to leave.
But if I leave, after I leave, if my kids pointing at me and really mad, so they don't want to see me anymore, then what should I do?
네, 그렇게 하죠, 당연히.
Of course, that's how your kids are going to
아이들
react.
입장에서는 아빠가 아픈데 엄마가 떠났다 하면 엄마를 미워하게 되겠죠.
From your children's perspective, if their mother left a sick father, of course they're going to hate you.
그건 당연한 거예요.
And that's pretty obvious.
그러니까 자기는 지금 병든 남편을 돌보려니까 힘이 든다. 떠나려니까 애들이 나를 미워할 것 같다. 그 애들을 미움을 받는 거하고 병든 남편 돌보는 거하고 사이에 지금 어느 게 더 문제냐 이래가 자기가 지금 망설이고 있는 거예요.
So basically, you're hesitant about making a choice because you are kind of weighing, the pros and cons of, taking care of your sick husband or leaving him and bearing the brunt of the anger and hatred of your children. So you're kind of weighing the options.
Actually, I am good at speak Korean better, so it's hard to describe English. But I just want to get good words or give me encourage or something to stay with my husband.
돌봐야 될 의무가 없어요.
But there's you don't have any obligation to take care of your sick
제일 좋은
husband.
방법은 그냥 떠나는 거예요.
The best option for you is just leave.
아니 남편이 건강하고 돈도 있고 도 하는데도 내 마음에 안 든다고 떠나는 시대에 아픈 남편 두고 떠나는 게 뭐가 문제예요?
In this day of age, as people actually leave their husband, even though their husband may be healthy and wealthy, you still can leave. And if your husband is sick, you can obviously leave.
지금 자녀들이 부모가 이혼하는 걸 원하는 자녀가 누가 있습니까? 그런데도 다 자녀들 생각 안 하고 주거가 마음에 안 들면 이혼해 버리잖아요.
There are a lot of divorces right, despite the wishes of their children. Which child would actually want their parents to divorce, right? But nevertheless, people make choices to divorce all the time.
이혼을 하려고 하는데 미련이 남으면 저한테 이렇게 말합니다. 이혼을 하려고 하는데 애들 때문에 못하겠습니다. 이렇게 말하고 그 다음에 또 어떤 때는 또 이렇게 말합니다. 이혼을 안 하려고 스님 말 듣고 이혼을 안 하려고 하려니까 애들한테 너무 나쁜 영향을 줄 것 같아서 이혼을 해야 되겠습니다. 그러니까 이혼을 하는 것도 안 하는 것도 자기가 결정하는데 애들 핑계대고 한단 말이에요. 이렇게 되면 안 돼요. 하고 안 하고는 다 자기가 결정하지. 여러분들이 애들이 핑계지 애를 생각하는 건 아니에요. 애를 생각하면 처음부터 아예 생각을 안 해야 돼요. 이혼할 생각을.
So, people come to me all the time and say, I want to get divorced, but I can't really get divorced because I'm thinking about the welfare of the children. And then others say, I decided to get a divorce, but, the children, they're forcing me to stay. Basically, what all these people come to me and say is that they're using their children as an excuse for making this or that decision or not making certain decisions. So when you actually want to make a decision about your own life, don't put anybody else into that consideration. Just make that decision for yourself and by yourself.
다시 말하면 지금은 남편을 두고 떠나는 게 유리한 것 같은데 나중에 생각해 보니까 이게 더 불리할 것 같다. 현재 이익과 미래 이익 사이에 자기가 지금 갈등하고 있는 거예요.
So basically, you have to admit that you're actually being conflicted in between what you see currently, in which if you were just thinking about the now, you'd rather actually leave your husband, but you don't want to face the consequences in the future of you leaving your husband in terms of anger from your children. So you're being conflicted between the two.
그러니까 지금 내가 남아 있는 것은 내가 이 상황에서 내가 이것이 그래도 있는 게 낫다 해서 선택에 있다는 게 먼저 자기가 잡혀야 이 선택에 대해서 그럼 나는 어떻게 할 거냐 이렇게 다음 단계로 갈 수 있다는 거예요.
So what's really first is that you have to recognize and admit to yourself that you are choosing to remain with your husband because you have calculated that it is more beneficial at this point in time for you to remain with your husband. You have to own your own choice in order to figure out what to do next based on your own choice.
Actually, I want to stay next to him, but I'm just having hard time. So I need some good words or give me encouragement or something. Yeah, I never thought leaving him, but it's kind of story going weird.
그래요? 지금 대화가 잘 되고 있어요.
No, I think our conversation is going right. Well,
자, 그럼 제가 자기한테 물어볼게요.
so I'm going to ask you questions.
자기는 건강할 때 짜증이 많이 납니까? 아플 때 짜증이 많이 납니까?
So I want to ask you a question. Do you get more irritable when you're healthy or when you're sick?
Sick.
자기는 내가 원하는 것이 잘 이루어질 때 짜증이 많이 납니까? 원하는 것이 이루어지지 않을 때 짜증이 많이 납니까?
Do you get more irritable when you get what you want or when you don't get what you want?
I didn't get what I want. I didn't get, yeah.
자기가 몸이 불편해서 움직이기가 어려울 때 남편이나 애들이 빨리 집에 오기를 들어오는 것을 기다리게 될까? 내가 편안하게 집에서 TV 보고 뭐 보고 아주 몸도 편하고 마음도 편할 때 밖에 나간 사람이 왜 빨리 안 들어오나 하고 기다리는 게 어느 게 더 강하다고 생각해요?
Do you think you will, want your husband and your children to come home early if you have trouble moving around by yourself or being independent in your own house, or if you are lounging around watching TV?
The first one.
그러면 자기는 지금 건강하고
You're healthy now.
남편은 아프고
Your husband's sick.
그 다음에 남편은 집에서 자기 오도록 자기 도움이 필요해서 기다리고
And your husband's waiting for you to come home because he needs help.
근데 자기는 돈 번다고 바쁘고
But if you're busy outside, making income, earning money,
그래서 그럼 누가 짜증을 남편이 자기한테 짜증을 많이 낼까 원리적으로 보면 자기가 남편한테 짜증을 많이 내야 될까?
But it's looking at this objectively. I mean, who would actually be more irritable, your husband or yourself?
Actually, he did it to me.
원리로 보면 아픈 사람이 짜증을 많이 낼 것 같아? 건강한 사람이 짜증을 많이 낼 것 같아?
So kind of rephrasing the question, would a sick person be more irritable compared to a healthy person?
Yeah, sick people.
그럼 자기는 자기가 아파서 누워서 남편한테 짜증이 내는 게 좋아? 자기는 건강해서 남편 돌보면서 남편 짜증 받는 게 좋겠어?
So would you rather be sick like your husband and kind of get angry, at your husband while lying down in a sick state? Or would you rather be the recipient of someone's irritability and anger while remaining healthy?
Second,
근데 지금 뭐가 문제야 그러면?
Then what's the problem?
남편이 짜증 내는 거는 너무 당연하고
Now, of course, your husband is bound to get irritable.
그래도 남편이 되는 것보다는 내가 위치가 낮고 지금
But nevertheless, you're in a much better situation than your husband.
근데 자기는 떠나지는 않겠다고 하는 전제 하에서
So, assuming that you have no desire to leave him,
자기 처지가 좋은데 왜 문제야?
then you're in the best situation there. So, what's the problem?
yeah, that's
그래도
a
아무리
problem.
남편이 짜증을 내도 아이고 내가 안 아픈 게 다행이다 이렇게 생각하면 되죠.
If your husband becomes angry at you and abuses you, you can think, you know what? I still would not. I'd rather be in my position.
근데 지금 자기는 어떻게 생각하냐? 내가 가서 돈도 벌고 간호도 해주고 애도 돌보고 이러는데 나를 좀 안 알아주고 나만 보면 짜증이 낸다. 이렇게 자기가 생각하니까 힘들지.
But so, what you're thinking is that you feel like you're the victim. You're earning monies, you're taking care of him, nursing him, you're taking care of the children, the relationship with the children, yet he is not recognizing all that you are doing, and that's why you feel hurt.
남편이 그럼 네 아파요 내일 모레 죽을 상태로 누워 있어라. 내 나가가지고 애도 돌보고 돈도 벌고 니도 간해줄게. 그럼 바꿀 자신 있어?
So if your husband actually says, you know what, let's switch places, I'll do everything that you are doing now and be the recipient of your scolding or irritability, would you trade places with him?
No. But right now, he's kind of a kid. He's not adult anymore.
아까도 얘기했잖아. 아프면 애가 된다고.
As I told you, when you get sick, you become a child.
어린애라는 게 뭐예요? 자기가 자기 일을 못하는 사람.
What's a child? Definition of a child? A person who's not independent or autonomous.
아픈 사람은 자기가 자기 일을 못하는 거예요.
A sick person is not independent or autonomous.
나이가 들었어도 자기가 자기 일을 못하면 어린애같이 됩니다.
Even when you get older, right? So if you can't really take care of yourself, you become like a child.
그러니까 어린애라는 것은 나이가 어린 것만 어린애가 아니라 자기가 자기 일을 못하면 다 어린애예요.
So a child doesn't mean just because you're younger in age. It also means that you can't really take care of yourself.
그래도 이렇게 생각하세요. 그래도 내가 안 아픈 게 다행이다.
So think of it this way. I still rather not be as sick as him.
That's not enough for me. I'm at the bottom right now, so. I thank you anyway.
지금 자기가 지금을 생각해서 떠나게 되면 이게 1년 갈지 2년 갈지 3년 갈지는 모르지만은 이게 남편이 오래 가면 있는 걸 후회하고 남편이 빨리 죽으면 떠난 걸 후회하게 돼 있어요.
Yeah, so if you decide to leave right now, so really, the level of your regret is that, if your husband kind of persists for a long time, then you'll regret staying. But if your husband dies quickly, then you'll regret leaving.
그 지금 빨리 죽을지 늦게 죽을지를 몰라서 지금 어려운 거예요.
And you're conflicted because you don't know how long he's going to sustain himself.
근데 생각을 이렇게 한번 바꿔보세요.
But let's kind of turn that around.
남편이 오래 살면 살수록 좋다.
Turn that around and say, you know what, the longer he lives, it's better for me.
그렇게 해서 있는 쪽을 선택하세요.
And then choose to remain with him despite
그리고
that.
항상 아픈 사람이 더 힘들다.
And always remember, it's the sick who is more irritable, who's suffering more.
그래도 하루라도 더 살면 애들한테 좋은 일이다.
But, even one extra day here with us is better for our children.
그래서 남편한테 이렇게 말하세요.
And this is what you should tell your husband.
살기 힘들지.
I know you're suffering
말기가 되면 통증이 심합니다.
because, at the end, it's really painful.
그래서 짜증도 많이 내고.
And you are irritable because of that.
그러나 여보, 아이들을 위해서 좀 더 살다가 죽으세요.
But honey, I want you to live hold on as much as you can for the children,
힘들지만은.
despite the suffering.
그러니까 자기가 아무리 힘들어도 통증을 견디고 있는 남편보다 더 힘들지는 않습니다.
So no matter how much you're not suffering as much as your husband who's actually holding on despite the great amount of pain.
그렇게 망설여지면 떠나세요.
And if you're still hesitant, then leave.
있다면 이 길밖에 없습니다.
And if you want to stay though, this is the only way.
그러니까 이렇게 더 힘든 사람을 생각하면서 자기를 위로하는 길이 있고 이 힘듦을 자기가 괴로워하는 길이 있고 괴로워하면서 살래 가볍게 살래 이 길밖에 이제 선택이 없습니다. 떠나는 길을 제외하면.
So if you decide to stay, then the only choice left is between you suffering because of his suffering, or you choosing not to suffer because you fully understand the suffering that he is undergoing.
네. 감사합니다.
이번에 얘기 들으면서 여러분들이 힘든 상황은 충분히 이해가 되죠.
So as you listen to this story to her, I think we fully understand the situation that she's under.
왜 못 떠나죠?
But why can't she leave?
떠나면 되지.
She can just leave.
그러니까 떠나지 않는 것은 자기 선택이에요.
So not leaving is her choice.
자기가 선택했으면 그 결과에 대해서 책임을 져야 된다.
But once you made a choice, you have to be responsible for the consequences of your choice.
그러면 괴로워하면서 사는 길이 있고 괴롭지 않으면서 사는 길이 있다.
Then at that point, you can continue to live without suffering, or you can continue to live without suffering.
둘 중에 어떤 선택을 할 거냐만 남았습니다.
Then which path would you choose?
괴롭지 않는 길은 바로 아픈 사람이 나보다 더 힘들다는 것을 이해하는 겁니다.
And then the path to least suffering is that is embracing the full understanding that sick person is suffering much more than I am.
그러니까 내가 아무리 밖에 가서 열심히 일하고 힘들게 일하고 하더라도 그가 짜증을 내면 그가 나보다 더 어려운 처지에 있기 때문에 짜증을 내기 때문에 나는 기꺼이 아이고 많이 기다렸죠 여보 아이고 힘들었지 이렇게 위로하는 자세를 가져야 됩니다.
So despite all the things that I'm doing to keep this family intact and to his life as comfortable as I can, if he becomes irritable and gets angry at me, then I can engage with him without suffering because I have that full understanding of the suffering that he is going through.
그런 성인이 되기 싫으면 떠나면 됩니다.
But if you don't want to be as saintly as that, then you can just leave.